Well, hi, Julie.
Well, hello, sunshine. How are you?
I am well today. How about you?
I am doing well today too. Nice,
Yay.
sunny, warm day here in Phoenix.
Well, it's sunny and warm, but not too hot here.
Well, it's good. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been ramping up here.
Mm.
Probably, 100 right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm
So
just sending some
tell me,
cool vibes your way then.
here you go. Tell me about this gorgeous bowl.
Well, I was welcoming us in today with this is my crown bowl. So it's tuned to our crown chakra, um, our spiritual wisdom, um, both receiving and giving to the world. It is 10 and a half inches and tuned to a B. So it can go anywhere from a B to a B sharp to a B flat, just depending on the energy.
Nice.
She's one of my favorites. I have a feeling you might have brought us a poem that might go along with the stars.
I have a good one. Yeah. I
Okay.
found this little treasure um, this week for us. And so this poem comes to us by a Canadian who, as as a teen up there in Canada, she traveled a lot throughout um, throughout Canada with her father, who I believe he was a geologist.
Mm-hmm.
So she traveled with him and actually ended up being a pretty good assistant for the work that he was doing at that time. And she was really, she kind of got her sea legs in research and really kind of got into science. And so that experience then took her to university, and she studied all kinds of interesting things around biology and zeroed in on genetics. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a bright, bright young woman. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that was just the beginning for her, the taste. And from there, she recognized that she had this love of astronomy. And so here she's got this undergrad biology degree. So what are you going to do? She decides to get a master's in astronomy. And she goes on to do that. And I think she does that in British Columbia somewhere. And from there, she goes on to get a degree in physics. So this is a this is a voracious learner,
Wow.
woman, has this aptitude for the sciences, loves to write because she is a researcher. Because she's crafted this science skill and also this literature, love of writing, love of journaling, love of kind of the prompts that go along with that. So she's
Mm-hmm.
developing this. Um, she then goes on to get a PhD in astronomy, and she goes to
Wow.
Cambridge University to do this. Gets her PhD, and then this is all happening in the 80s. In 1986, she starts working on a postdoctoral research fellowship examining the Hubble telescope. Um, and that's at Princeton University. And so she is on this team that is about to be part of launching the Hubble telescope, which I think got launched like in 1990. And
Okay.
it's still up in space, sharing data, bringing data. But that's what her postdoc area of expertise and interest was. So here she's had this amazing career. And then she accepts another fellowship. So this is a very, I'm exhausted now thinking about just the rigor and the workload and but this is somebody who is voracious about learning, and we'll discover why shortly. So she accepts this fellowship at Radcliffe College, which I think is in Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts. And now we're at around 1989,
Okay.
and she accepts this to teach creative writing. So it's like art, career, science, like what?
She just stays open to the invitation, doesn't she?
This is someone who is a this and that. She has crafted that gift of don't fence me in, this
Hmm.
and that. So it's now the 1990s, and she decides to accept a astronomy position because she wants, she's an and girl. I want to be able to do this, and I want to do that. And so she accepts this position. She's about 29, age 29, about
She's
this,
only 29 at this point.
only 29 at this point.
My gosh.
And she accepts this position, and then boom, as life will sometimes provide the boom, she is diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she goes into treatment for this and is still continuing, her workload, goes into treatment and ends up being in pretty good health, like goes into remission for about 7 years and
Okay.
is doing really well, and then meets the love of her life, who is an Italian artist. And his name is Angelo di Genitio. Not sure about the pronunciation, but she and Angelo meet and decide to get married. They get married, and however, the cancer does return, and she dies in May of 1999,
What?
the age of 39.
What? I feel like I just got set up here.
No, 39.
What?
Think of the accomplishments. And so after her death, her husband and another friend of hers, who is a poet and somehow also in that world of literature, um, and I don't know the timeline exactly, but anyway, they discover this volume of writing, and I mean a voracious volume of writing, beautiful poetry. And
Mm.
so what you realize is her work fuses in discussions around the topics of physics and makes these connections to nature and astronomy and the connections to nature and wonder. And so there's language like of both hemispheres, of the right brain, left brain, beautiful, talented woman that she was. And she must have been just a light in this world, a beautiful, beautiful soul. And so her husband decides, well, this needs to be published. This is a body of work that she has produced here. And he goes about getting this volume of work published. And it's titled A Responsibility to Awe. And it's published in 2001. And in 2002, it starts winning all these prestigious awards and getting recognition for just the just the beautiful body of work that she has created. And what I love is her husband, one of the poems in this book is not dated. So
Oh.
does not know. There's no, like, when did she write this? Did she write this before she knew she was ill? After she knew she was ill? During the time they were together? As things were getting closer to maybe her knowing that she wasn't going to survive, nobody knows. But it was the one that jumped out at me that felt like it needed to be shared today.
Mm.
So I am going to read for you Antidotes to Fear of Death. And our poet is Rebecca Elson, Elson.
So I see a thread that continued. We were talking about despair, and what is the antidote to despair was a question you pondered last time. So, antidote to the fear of death.
Yeah, Antidotes to Fear of Death.
To antidotes to fear of death. Oh, well, let's ring this in.
Let's do.
I need to settle down after feeling set up for awesomeness, which she was, but I wanted more. Yeah.
This is for Rebecca Elson. Antidotes to Fear of Death. Sometimes, as an antidote to fear of death, eat the stars. Those nights lying on my back, I suck them from the quenching dark till they are all inside of me, pepper hot and sharp. Sometimes instead, I stir myself into a universe still young, still warm as blood. No outer space, just space. The light of all the not yet stars drifting like a bright mist, and all of us and everything already there, but unconstrained by form. And sometimes it's enough to lie down here on earth beside our long ancestral bones, to walk across the cobbled fields of our discarded skulls, each like a treasure, like a chrysalis, thinking whatever left these husks flew off on bright wings. So what are you feeling right now?
I
Other than being
was
sad?
striking this crown gold to invite us into this place. I um, was envisioning this opening of my crown center. So I think I'm just sitting in this opening space, and feeling, um, I don't know what the feeling would be to be feeling, um, the weightlessness of space with stars as my neighbors. I don't know what that feeling is. Um, Except I think the weightlessness of it. Um,
I love the concept that, you know, first of all, that concept of I eat the stars.
no.
Lying on my back, I suck them from the quenching dark till they are all inside of me. That's like language that a joyful spirit, like a young child, who's looking up and that taking in the universe. I love, again, that left brain, right brain, you know, not talking about stars in the scientific terminology, using that juicier language of description of what, joyfulness, childlike,
Right.
innocent, sort of, um, I just found that beautiful.
And the imagination, you have to be able, well, maybe not her, but most of us have to be able to activate our imagination of the stars. Um, yeah, that imagination.
And just like not outer space, just space.
Right.
Right.
But there's this loveliness because for me, there's a weightlessness, but there's also a grounding when she talked about, the ancestral bones
Mhm.
and the discarded skulls, each one like a treasure. So to be able to have your feet rooted, in your ancestral bones, while also, pardon the pun, but your head in the stars as well.
I almost get the feeling that this was written when she was really understanding that she could be facing death. Like, so that maybe it was at a time like closer to the second diagnosis that the cancer had returned.
Mm-hmm.
I just have this feeling of, she was in a really, she'd taken a leap of faith to marry this man, knowing what her diagnosis had been. Who knows what that dynamic had been like to sort of finally get her to be able to say yes to that and to trust that. I get this, I don't know, just from her language, she was like firmly planted. Like she knew we're here for this short amount of time. And there was something almost activated in her as a girl because she was voracious
Right.
about how she lived her life. And when you think of what this woman accomplished in 39 years, that's an amazing that's an amazing body of work, but it's an amazing curious human spirit that was like, nope, I'm going to do that one too, and oh, I'm going to do that too, and now I'm going to do this.
Right. And I like that idea that, being activated on the soul level because the wisdom of the soul. And she didn't say no. She said yes to every invitation. And she didn't choose either or. She pursued this variety of academics and fell in love with the love of her life and got married. She didn't choose one or the other. She's like, I can do all of this.
And
I
as
always,
getting kudos after kudos for being this scientific mind, to also say, oh, and I am this as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that is that is more rare than it should be. It should be that she's like become my new role model.
That should be the norm.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, that you say yes to everything that you want to say yes to, whatever that looks like for you, as long as it's a yes for you. I have to say, there's something about no date on
hmm
this poem, um, that there's no sense of time almost. You know, not. I'm just feeling. She wasn't living on timetables. Oh, I have to make sure I get this done. I have to get that done. Even if it was, her second diagnosis, and she knew that time was limited, she wasn't on a timetable. And I feel like some of that has been happening in our world right now. Um,
What do you
that
mean?
we've
Yeah.
been, well, one, sometimes it's hard to keep track of the days because
That's
we're not
true.
counting days using the same system that we've been using for so long.
Mhm.
Um, but also, we're going about our days differently. And
Mm.
so, what used to be old timelines for me, the slowing down has given way to what's the Susan timeline? And I just had this conversation with Tony 30 minutes before we came online of telling him, I've met someone, and she functions on her timeline. And it's really been a lesson for me not to worry about, oh, I haven't heard back from so and so. And I told him, I said, I think I'm moving in the direction of moving on Susan timeline. And I'll get to some things when they seem like the right time for me. And then I said, and watch out, because it'll be known as Susan time and it may not fit your time. But this time, there's no time. Instead of being her sense of urgency that time is running out, it was more expansive. I think that's what it's been feeling like for me, that time is more expansive. We still only have 24 hours in a day, but it feels more expansive.
Yeah, I also feel like the creativity has definitely I feel that that has ramped up in me, and I know it's ramping up in other people around me, and I hear some of the stories of things people are creating and learning, and it's for the fun of it. It's for the sense of playfulness, not like I have not heard anybody say to me, wow, now in this like downturn, I am on LinkedIn doing every learning module on how to do X, Y, or Z. That's not what people are doing. And it's I want to start my own blog. I want to create my own online art business. I want to learn how to tie dye those really cool shirts that have really vibrant colors that, like have beautiful patterning, not your old school tie dye. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just amazed at what people are creating. Collage artists. I have a friend who is like creating the most stunning and interesting collage pieces. Um,
That's funny
and
because I have.
I am a marketing manager and I create beautiful collage.
So, about 2 weeks ago, I had a dream and I woke up and I said, I don't want to have to choose either or. I want both. I don't want to be this or that. I want to be both.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This and
This
absolutely.
and.
Mm-hmm.
Mm hmm. Mm hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so our little friend Rebecca has inspired us both greatly here. And,
I
she's
love
left an
this.
amazing body of work behind. And that's that almost like the infinity of the stars and the bones that are left behind from the ancestors. And
Well, this is creativity that came through her, but was also probably given to her
yes.
from ancestors.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't um, you didn't tell us how Rebecca came upon you.
So let me think about that for a minute because I was doing a lot of online searching this week, and I don't really remember exactly now how I found her work. But I started with somebody else. I started actually um, with a like online poetry resource that
Okay.
I linked to, and I don't remember. It might be poetry.org.
Okay.
And I clicked on somebody else's work, and that led me to a different website. I should write down my how these little, because sometimes I'm like I get way off track. And then I read the poem first because it was an award-winning poem from this book that called A Responsibility to Awe. And I love the title. So that hooked me right away.
Yes.
Responsibility to Awe. And that this poem, Antidotes to Fear of Death, was in there. And then I went on the hunt to find out who is this person, Rebecca. And that's where I'm like, yep, she's our girl. That's who needs to be read today, for today. Because I was so in awe of the body of work that this girl from Canada to the United Kingdom to the United States, um, just being a voracious learner. Like, I need more. I want more. I'm a biologist, geneticist, and an astronomer. Oh, wait, and I'm a creative writer. Oh, wait, I love that because it reminds me so much of when I went away to college and I would meet different people who had different majors. I was like, oh, I want to do that. And then I'd meet somebody else from another department and be like, oh, I want to do that too. Like, it was really hard for me at age 19, 18 to declare my life path based on getting a college education. And so I wish somebody had sat me down at that tender age and said, you can be this and that.
That.
Because I think things might have shaken out a little bit differently if I had internalized that.
Right.
It's like nobody held me back, but if I had internalized that for myself, that, you do not have to declare.
You don't have to stay in your own lane,
No,
or your lane does not have to be narrow.
your lane can adjust at all times.
Yes.
From a 2 lane to a 4 lane like that. Look at what they did in California. Exactly. Yeah, so I just was inspired. I was very inspired by her educational journey. And then reading that poem and realizing, this is written from the heart, not the head. This was somebody who had full integration at a very young age. And that's, even though her life was cut short, wow, what a blessing and a gift. And that she's left this beautiful body of work
Yes.
behind that is still touching people and still in publication.
Mm.
It's a really beautiful thing.
Lovely. Well, thank you for sharing Rebecca with us, Julie.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Mm, very yummy. I say that's a definite yum.
Okay, well, I think I agree.
Okay, well, we'll put that poem in our comments. Excellent. Okay. Thanks, Julie.
My pleasure.
All
Until
right.
next time, you're up next.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.